We're on lot number 9 in Brickyards, and the footing crew just left. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the footings, because the footings is really one of the most important parts of the home. Everything rests on the footings. If these aren't right, the home will never be right. And you see Mid-America's come in and they've excavated the hole, done a nice neat job so that the hole is clear of debris, which makes for good safety. And then they made us a little access ramp here to make it easy to walk down into the hole, getting rid of ladders and such. And now I'm down into the foundation. I'm actually standing on what's called a footing. And the footing system that Mid-America uses is, it's like a former drain, but not the brand name former drain. You have an exterior pipe and an interior pipe. And the rebar sticks down through here, hooks them, and this is how they get everything level. But then that pipe stays there. So it's acting as the form, but then it's also a drain. This pipe here has holes in the top and in the side, but not in the bottom. So it's solid at the bottom, creating a trough. You'll see that we have a pipe on the outside, and we have a pipe on the inside. Once the wall is sitting here, and these tall pieces of rebar that are looped over are going to be sandwiched right in the middle of the 8-inch thick concrete wall. So when the wall is here on this side, the water will drain down the side of the wall, be able to go into this pipe, and then it circles around the foundation. It's all interconnected, and then on the other side of the foundation over there, I've got a sump pump where it ties into the sump pump so that it can be mechanically evacuated. Now this rebar piece here is notably smaller because when completed, and we'll see this in a video at a later date, I have an egress window here so that you could climb out of this basement if you wanted to. Well, with the egress window, we're going to have a large window well. It's going to be filled with rock, and then this vertical pipe right here will be tied to a drain. So whatever water gets into that egress window can drain straight down to this former drain system here, and then make its way around to the sump pump and be mechanically evacuated. On this way, as we walk around the footings, we're going to step up to the garage. But when we step up to the garage, we do a continuous footing. So this form board here has got concrete back on the other side, and that allows this concrete to turn and come down with rebar reinforcements down and sit on this footing. And that will keep this footing from ever settling in any way, because we're going to have an 8-foot tall wall here, and we'll have a 3-foot tall wall there in the garage footings. And it all locks together, and the rebar that runs between the walls, when it's all tied together, this thing, the footings, the walls, everything is tied together, and the floors are poured in. It becomes like kind of like a barge. You could take the whole thing and just set it in the lake and it would float. These 3 pads here are pier pads. We're going to have a steel beam that runs left to right through this home, and there's going to be posts. So when the floor is poured, you won't see these pier pads. You'll just see a post sitting down here on the concrete floor. But the weight of the roof of the home, the load, if you will, is being transferred to the steel beam that runs left and right, onto the post and down to this pier pad. And we want this to be extra thick rather than just sitting on 4 inches of concrete. I'm standing on 10 inches of concrete, so it makes it very thick and it dissipates that weight out and won't have your concrete floor cracking while still giving the beam above ample support. Our staircase is going to come down through here, and this is why I'm standing on dirt instead of 4 inches of rock, because when we pour our basement floor, this will get thickened as well. So instead of being 4 inches thick, it's going to be 8 inches thick in order to carry the weight that's sitting on top of the walls for the stairwell. But you can see the distance from the wall, what's going to be a stair to that beam, not very much. So there's not a great deal of weight that's being carried by this wall. And when this stairwell wall is put here, the distance between it and the exterior wall is not very much either, so it's not carrying a great deal of weight. It doesn't require the extra thick pier pad. This only needs to be about 8 inches thick. As I mentioned, the drainage comes all the way around. The pipes go inside and outside. They're making their way around to the sump pump. But this outside pipe is connected to the inside pipe, and then both pipes are connected to the sump pump. It all makes its way into this lid right here. But this pipe hooks into here, this pipe hooks into there, It all drains in through this white PVC pipe right there, and then the sump pump will pump it up and get rid of it, what water does get in there. Well, just a moment ago we were looking at footings, and I made reference to the foundation walls that are going to sit on top of the footings. I walked across the street here and we have an example of a foundation that's just been poured and the walls are been placed on top of the footings. So I thought we would jump on this. I showed it where there was a drain for a big window well. This is the big window well. I mean, it's big enough that you can just climb right down on in it. And the idea is if you were in the basement and something went wrong where there might have been a fire or something to start upstairs, this is a means of egress where you can get out this window, up and out of the home safely to evacuate the building. Even if we were going to build a home where the basement's unfinished, we put one of these in place automatically, and we want to make sure that everybody stays safe, because this home will be here for 300 years. Somewhere along the line, somebody's going to finish this basement. So we've got an 8-inch thick poured concrete wall with reinforced rebar through it. The framing crew has just started, set up, and squared everything up and show that the foundation was square. We've got our mud seal here, which is treated lumber. There's a piece of the copper termite shield that's placed there against the concrete, and then there is a piece of foam that runs in between these two that is compressed as a sill sealer to keep all the air and critters out. But the copper termite shield is going to stop anything in the way of termites, and it also acts as what I would call a vapor retarder or a capillary break. It will not allow moisture to be pulled out of this foundation up into the lumber that sits on top. This is not something that's required by building code, but it's a good idea. It's because the concrete sucks moisture up out of the river, or in this case it would be out of the ground. It will make its way up to the lumber, and then the lumber is going to rot prematurely. This is a great defense mechanism to stop that from happening. But I'm down here in the window well. There's a drain underneath these rocks that goes right down and connects into the footing system there, just like we saw across the street. And then I'm going to hop into here and we're going to talk about horizontal bracing. Well, now I just crawled down into the basement so we can take a little different look at the walls. As you can see here, I'm standing on the concrete floor. This is a 4-inch thick concrete slab. It's poured over a vapor barrier. So we had the rock that we saw across the street. Then there's a vapor barrier that goes down, and then we place 4 inches of concrete on top of that. This is an interior concrete where they can slick it out really nice and even. You can see they've done a pretty good job of doing just that. Then we saw cut the concrete here in order to give it a place for expansion and contraction, because concrete does two things. It gets hard and it cracks. Our goal is to give it a place to crack so we don't have crazy spider cracks and stuff running across it at an angle. Sometimes that happens. We're doing everything we can to stop it from happening, and if it does happen, it does not mean that the home is moving or there's a structural integrity issue. The only time we have a problem with concrete and we know that something's wrong is if it's uneven. If it cracked and one side's higher than the other, something's not right. But you won't see this right here. It's beautiful. If it was going to crack, it'd be cracking by now. Then the exterior wall. When we looked at the footings, we saw the big pieces of rebar that were about as tall as I am. They go up and they looped in back down into the footings. Each one of those pieces is in between these panels. They set the basement panels in a wall panel this wide, which is then locked together to another one and another one. It's locked together with pins that stick out. In those pins, they lay rebar across them. So there's 2 pieces of steel rebar that's running horizontally in the middle of this concrete wall here, another 2 there, another 2 there, and another 2 here. So you've got the loop that goes up and down, ties into the footings, and then you've got horizontal rebar on each side of that, making it just a giant web of steel that's encased in the concrete. Now on this side of the wall, you can see the concrete's raw. But it's not big and bad with honeycomb because they use good forms, they vibrate it properly, they use the right mix of concrete. All these things come together to see a wall that looks attractive, is not full of honeycombs. On the other side of this concrete wall is where they have the lifetime warranty vapor barrier. That's where the fluid applied EnviroDry product is sprayed onto the wall, and that seals it up to make sure that no water comes through this wall. If this wall were to crack and water started to seep in, then part of that lifetime warranty on the waterproof foundation, Watchdog would come back, drill into that crack, and inject epoxy in there under thousands of PSI, fills the crack, stops any kind of moisture infiltration. But without cracks, this foundation, this basement is going to be nice and dry. For whomever lives here, because this home's not sold just yet, whichever family takes this home and lives here, they're going to have a really, really nice space that's warm in the winter, cool in the summer, and dry year-round. This way here, you'll see pipes sticking out of the ground, and you'll like, what is this about? Well, this is a rough-in for a future bathroom. Again, this home's not sold yet, so I don't know that they're going to finish a bathroom, but there's a pretty good chance they will. Earlier I said this home will be here for 300 years. Somebody's going to want to put a bathroom down here. And this will allow them to do that without having to get a concrete saw out and bust up the floor and have a plumber run plumbing underneath it. Yes, it costs money, but it's money well spent, knowing that the future inhabitants of this home won't have to deal with what could be a really, really expensive and a tedious, not to mention messy ordeal trying to get plumbing put in a concrete floor that didn't have one before. And this, just like the home across the street, we got the footings that run around, they run back over to the sump pump lid. In this application, we've got the underground plumbing. The plumbers came in, did the underground plumbing for us before the concrete was poured, and they've got the sump pump there. And the sump pump's operational, so it'll pump water out of the basement if it rains. And then on this side, all this drains, standpipes to catch these are the standpipe. It's going to be catching wastewater from upstairs in the kitchen. It makes its way out under the concrete floor through that sleeve I was talking about for sewer. It's marked right here, and there's a standpipe just on the other side of that wall. And that's the clean out for the sewer. If ever got clogged, the plumbers would start there and check the clean out to see if it gets to the public sewer system. Back over here, this is a standpipe for radon gas. This pipe just goes down and hooks into the footing, and when the home is completed, the plumbers will run this pipe up and out through the roof independent of any other sort of drainage, so that it's not connected in any way. This pipe being hooked into the inside of that footing, the footing pipe, the drainage, will give radon gas a place to go. If radon gas ever shows up, you can look up radon gas. There's quite a bit of information on it. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. It might be there one day and it's not the next. But it is bad for us, so we want to do what we can just to get rid of it. This is a passive system that lets radon gas leave. Before it had a chance to make it through the vapor barrier or 4 inches of concrete that's sitting above it, it's going to make its way up out this pipe, up and out the home, away from anybody who might live in the home, and then everybody's safe. There's an extra bonus in there. This is a pretty good wall to look at. You can see we've got our plumbing running through there. You can see our PVC pipes for drain. Synthetic rubber. If you get a piece of this stuff, you can just stretch it like crazy. But that's where we're going to seal around our windows and our doors.